We're live. Welcome to Chainlink Live. Hi, everybody. It's me, Andy from Chainlink Labs. I'm here with Beau Olsen from Transient. And if you are a regular viewer, you will notice I am in a weird place. I don't have my setup. I'm actually in a hotel. I have traveled for East Denver, but my hotel doesn't have Wi-Fi. There's some problems happening, and so I'm like walking around trying to get my signal and doing all this stuff. And Beau is joining us from across the world. This is actually a pretty cool setup. But Beau, it's awesome to have you here, man. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Everybody, this is a live AMA. If you have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. We'll try to get to them if you have them. If not, then you can join communities later and ask those questions as well. But feel free to drop those questions and say hello. We can see what you're saying and how you're doing. Again, if you're joining us, I'm like live. This is the real deal. So hopefully not too many people get bugged by me being out here in the world. Beau, what's going on? Like, I just got done from a major conference hype, people all over the place. What's happening in your world over in Australia? What is Web3 looking like right now? How's the community?
Yeah, it's really active at the moment. We've got a couple of big conferences as well coming up that I'm attending, and I'm doing some chats at a Blockchain Australia Week, which is coming up in March, which is really cool. But the velocity of which people are getting behind, innovation and particularly blockchain in Australia and more so sort of Asia Pacific has taken a massive turn. So yeah, really excited, and some big players are now coming out of it, which is really awesome for the ecosystem down under.
Excellent. Well, I want to get started here and learn what we're really here for, which is to learn about Transient. You guys are building a really cool no-code, low-code platform, so we're going to get into that. Everybody, this is Chainlink Live. One note, if my internet goes out and it's just like Beau hanging out, be cool to Beau, because I am in a weird spot. And if that happens, we'll figure it out. We'll come back. We'll redo it if we need to, this video, and make sure we learn. But stick with us, do our best, and we're going to get going. Here it is. It's Chainlink Live. Welcome back, Chainlink Live. I'm Andy Bland from Chainlink Labs. Beau Olsen from Transient is here. Let's get started, Beau. Tell us, what is Transient? What makes it cool? What's really special about it?
Yeah, so Transient, as you said, is the zero code contracts marketplace. So in terms of what we're building really seamless experiences across a number of different industries and use cases, all using the wonder of smart contracts, but with absolutely no code required. So our dApps that we'll get to, I'm sure, really emphasize the ability for anyone to pick them up, be able to utilize them, but also utilize under the hood from a smart contract perspective. So if anyone has ever used any sort of mainstream CMS or content management systems, email systems, anything in that sort of traditional type world, yeah, it's really easy to transition into Web3 with our suite of products.
I got a lot of questions about Web 2 and Web 3 and the combination. I'm kind of saving those for later. So this is a no-code dApp platform, and you guys have built some test dApps. Are there like a type of dApp that you see kind of being the first wave of adoption, things that you're kind of focusing on? Or is it like anything, or is there one that's like going to be proved out? What sort of stuff do you guys see?
Yeah, so we've been on the journey a little bit already. So for me, coming from a big sort of agile tech background, I'm all about just incremental development. So we started with our TSC core product, which is really geared towards the crypto use case of facilitating transactions within the crypto ecosystem, for influencers, for security providers, and these sorts of service enablers in the industry. Able to create smart contracts using our TSC core dApp without any need for any coding experience to create their own smart contracts with their vendors or partners. So that's live. That's been on mainnet for a couple of months now, and we're across Ethereum, BSC, and HECO. So we've got a vast majority of coverage there. But our main goal with TSC Core was to really prove out the fundamentals of being able to create these smart contracts without the need of being able to either have a Solidity dev or the needing the need of coding experience. So that was our first foray into the world, and that's being utilized by our partners across our immediate sort of sphere. Really great feedback, and something that comes out of the DApp, not just that one, but all of our DApps that we have, is the ease and simplicity of which someone can pick it up and use it with very little fuss. So that was our first sort of points in terms of a bit of a proof point, and not a proof of concept. It's a working mainnet product, so it's up to scratch, but it does prove out some of our ideas around how we want to build out the rest of our estate. Yeah, so the next one for us, in which we were pumped to get out, and is also a mainnet, and this is what I've been really proud of the developers, particularly of being able to have these dApps out on mainnet so quickly into our journey as a project and as a company more broadly. But Crypto Pool, which is our the nice stat that we have at the moment, is gives users the ability to predict crypto prices by creating smart contracts in our platform. So once again, very simple way to utilize the product, and really gives a fun element to the everyday interactions of crypto. Price predictions, what's going to happen next. At the moment, it literally could go either way each hour you look. So being able to predict prices and utilize a dApp like ours for that, which is completely community driven, is really cool as well. But that puts us onto our next step of really hitting the mainstream and the mass market that we're hitting. So we've actually just created our esports dApp, which is in testing. Our esports dApp is going to be bringing the gaming, the traditional gaming, so your Dota 2, your League of Legends, CSGO, these types of games, into the crypto world, with the ability for the community once again to create competitions, have a bit of fun, and predict the outcomes of these official tournaments worldwide. So, you can see a little bit of an evolution there, but we were really key on proving out at each point, and we think that as we continue, we'll continue to add layers to that product suite. So a little bit of a coverage there, as you can see, but we are trying to hit those multiple demographics, within the sort of sphere of what we're offering.
Well, we're talking to you because you guys have integrated Chainlink for these dApps, and so the crypto pools, the link is down below in the description if people want to check that out. That's calling price data, I assume. So at the end of the day, or whatever the time period is, whatever the price is, whoever the closest is, that it executes
Exactly.
or something. And then with esports, that's a different type of data feed altogether. It's like game outcomes and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like there's a ton of opportunities to pull off-chain data on-chain.
Yeah, you're right. So Crypto Pool is, I suppose, one of the more basic workflows or work streams that we have in terms of, as you mentioned, around price validation. So use a Chainlink node to get that. We're getting it through CoinMarketCap at the moment as the aggregator. And very simply being able to then distribute rewards and winnings to our community utilizing those feeds. And something for us very early on is obviously you try to balance the latency and the other sort of challenges we have with what we're standing for in terms of transparency of transaction, and taking any sort of middleman or any human intervention out of it. That was a key thing for us to utilize Chainlink in the beginning. For esports, as you said, there's not a esports provider that's doing really well on not bringing data on chain at the moment. So between ourselves, Chainlink, and Game Scorekeeper, which is a massive esports data provider, we've formed a collaboration to bring their data on chain, which I think is really great for the ecosystem of esports and the official tournaments that they're bringing, but also allows Transient to really improve and give back into the community for which we're operating. So that's really exciting, and what that then does is allows us to work with their partners as well, as we look to bring more traditional sports into our dApp ecosystem and our marketplaces, and then obviously extend that into the Chainlink nodes as well. So it
Cool.
didn't exist, and we're pretty happy to be able to bring it on chain.
Now, let's talk a little bit about the no code thing. So it's a platform. You guys have the dApps that are your dApps that are kind of demo, live dApps, but there are demos as well. Is the idea for Chainlink feeds or any of the stuff you guys building that anybody can use it and kind of plug and play? I don't know if it's drag and drop or plug. I don't know what metaphor to use there. Like, is that sort of the idea with no code platform?
Yeah. So yeah, drag and drop's probably a really good one. So as an example, the esports one is the top of my head at the moment. If we want to create a competition or a pool, we call them. So we just want to clear though. So we're not a betting platform. We don't offer decimal betting. We don't offer bookmaking of any sort. This is purely a community-driven application that allows the user to create their own pools and then effectively allow the community to share within any entry fees that are put in as part of that pool. As part of that pool, though, as you said, the drop and drag component is if I want to create a pool that's based on a competition for League of Legends South America Tournament 1, there's thousands of potential outcomes below that. So, you'd have which team's going to win, how many kills, how many maps taken, all this sort of stuff. Literally endless amounts of data and attributes that you can associate to. So what we've been able to use Chainlink for, and obviously Game Scorekeeper through their APIs, is being able to eliminate or surface the required information based on your selection. So very hierarchical. So okay, I want to look at this tournament, I want to look at this type of competition, I want to look at this match, and I want to look at this player, all the way down to player specific stats. So if I say one player out of a tournament, player A, I want him to have X number of kills across the whole tournament, I can create a specific pool for that, share it to the community, and get some real traction in terms of engagement and community-driven atmosphere around those sorts of those matches. So that's how we're using it. But you're right, drag and drop is probably the key term there.
It's almost like a fantasy league, right? You can kind of pick them, your players to do this. You can kind of set up how it's a little different structure than fantasy football necessarily, but you could view it in that way, and somebody could kind of drag and drop and pull those in.
Yeah, and obviously with Super Bowl last week as well, we made a decision pretty early on that we're going to target our esports community, just given there's a huge crossover, particularly in South America and through Southeast Asia, of users that have a really big gaming presence, whether that's by playing or consuming content, as well as holding crypto wallets. So what we've kicked off now, we've been able to partner with a couple of big tournaments, one in Brazil that we've just finished up. We had a professional player came first in our inaugural Transient sponsored tournament, which was a great success. Had over 600 entrants, and start to get the name of Transient out into the stratosphere, not just of the crypto world, but into esports and those sorts of surrounds. Great influences and great activations across South America. We've also got one kicking off, which is going to have 3,000 participants, and jump into our socials to get all the details around this. But across Southeast Asia, across Indonesia, Vietnam, and the Philippines as a starting base, 3,000 entrants, a really good prize pool. But once again, it allows us to step into the demographic of where we're targeting, and we think users will love it as part of their experience to what they're doing today. We made that decision really early because of those that I stated. But when I was watching Super Bowl last week, I was getting an itch in my brain that we need to bring sports real quick. And the way that we've architected and built not only Chainlink integration, but our dApps in general, makes it really easy for us to plug and play with different sports as well. So for us to be able to take the leap from esports to traditional sports like NFL, NBA, baseball, UFC, MMA is not much of a stretch, because we have the underlying architecture already there. And it's available for us to extend. So for us, and it's probably a first for our community as well. We will be getting sports not too long after our esports dApp drops in March.
Super exciting. And we've got a lot of new joiners, and we've been talking all esports and sports. So Transient is not only about sports, it's like the no-code platform, but there are a lot of these use cases and great examples there. So Great place to start. I just want to make sure people who are coming on, they kind of know the deal there. I want to take a step back and just ask you about no code in general, like as an industry. With web pages, especially in Web 2, that drag and drop no code thing really took off. That was really useful. Squarespace and Wix and like all those sort of people have proved that out. Web3 has a little more complicated back end, right? Like you're tying into some other blockchain stuff. You got to do wallets. Is it parallel? Like, is it close enough, and is it good enough? And then next to that, like, is it too complicated? And then two, who are these users? Who wants to do no code stuff for these? Are they just like local people who are trying to have an experience? I'm in the US, so maybe I have like all the apps I want from FanDuel or whatever it happens to be, but maybe other people don't. So I'm sorry, that's two questions in one. One, like, how is it different from Web 2? Like, is it complicated? And then two, who are your users for these?
Yeah, so I think, and a lot of my background's interesting. You said FanDuel, part of the Flutter Group. So I was with Flutter Group for almost 15 years within their technology department. So in terms of the closeness, I'm pretty aware of it. So I might answer your second question first, but the reason we think our differentiation is where we have the move into crypto as an option of currency, clearly. So there are, particularly within the betting industry, of where they may not have a fiat or a ability from a regulation perspective or a law perspective to actually participate in things that they may, regularly do, particularly in the sort of Scandinavian countries. Regulation around sports betting in general is really, really tough. And what Web3 does is provides the ability for those users that are utilizing crypto to play a part within that ecosystem. So that's the first thing. Second, I think in terms of the way that people interact, for us, it was more around solving a problem as opposed to why would someone want to, complement their day-to-day experience with a transient dApp. When we started to think of and conceptualize the idea. So if we look at TSC Core, this was a real key one for us around how crypto communities and providers work with each other within the industry. And speaking to yourself is probably going to be a little bit different to talking to a brand new launch pad or an influencer that has a couple of thousand followers in the way that they interact for payments and just agreements in general. So what we found is an opportunity for everyone to make it a lot more seamless and take out the Telegram groups and the WhatsApp groups and the manually copying and pasting of wallets and not knowing how much you were supposed to pay. We found that as the opportunity that, if we're fixing someone's problem or making it easier for someone to do something, they're more likely to go out and actually utilize the product. So I wouldn't want to be, in that sense, and even back to the FanDuel sort of mention, I wouldn't want to be competing in terms of wallet space or app space or app time. However, what we'd be thinking is that there would be a shift and a diversion from that if someone wants to choose to. So the option's there. We know that there's people that have a desire to go towards the decentralized, transparent world that we're in, as opposed to a bookmaker fiat driven type of approach. So and that's the way that, and why we started in South America and Southeast Asia, is because that will really prove to us if our hypothesis is true, and from there we'll start to then evolve into what we think we need to either give more of or take back of. But yeah, there's definite the way that we look at improvements, particularly on Web3, may be different to how we looked at experiences on Web 2. So the actual rationale of why we would build something into our dApps is going to be completely different to why you build it into a Web 2 application.
It really struck me, this idea of somebody with a couple thousand followers who's like really niche, has like a favorite league player, and follows along. Or maybe it's them, right? Maybe it's their manager or their coach, and they're working. But then there's an opportunity maybe they don't have banking, maybe they don't have a bunch of this other stuff that is kind of natural, and they just need a quick dApp. They just need to like, let's do something fun, let's do something engaging. That makes a lot of sense. That's really interesting to me there. Beau, I didn't disconnect. We made it. We're here.
Awesome.
To everybody watching, we had some. I'm not in my normal place because we're having some technical issues with the hotel. So I just want to make sure everybody knows. I'm Andy from Chainlink Labs, and this is Beau from Transient. We've been talking about Transient and how they've integrated Chainlink for some of their new dApps, but really it's a no-code dApp platform for Web3 that also has Chainlink feeds available in it. Talked a lot about esports and kind of the niche for no-code.
It's exciting.
It really is. And I appreciate your time, Beau, and I appreciate everybody else as well. So as we kind of wrap up here, like, give us, you've given a couple of sneak peeks on some of the sports stuff on the horizon. What else you got coming for Transient? What are some of the other things that you have coming up?
Yeah, so our focus solely and squarely is around our esports dApp launch. So our activations and the time at the moment, given the market as well as sort of where we're at, our focus has been around really trying to penetrate the esports community and the ecosystem. And as I said, we've co-sponsored tournaments across South America and Southeast Asia to really get our foot into that conversation that we can be not just a crypto company, but an esports provider and or partner within that space. So our next 4 to 6 weeks is around doubling down around really getting our crypto community and those users within that space the best opportunity for our esports dApp going forward. So you'll see a momentum shift from sort of the esports specific to the more traditional crypto sort of focus for us. It's bringing that to mainnet and looking at how we start to build even further activations and partnerships across the esports ecosystem for us. Then, as I mentioned a little bit before, we're already developing it. We're waiting on some audits, some clarification around the data feeds that we'll be utilizing. There's a couple in the race at the moment, but sports will be the next off the rank. And it's looking very likely that it'll be your martial arts to begin with, given that the least complex in terms of data integration. And then we'll be looking at some head-to-head or match betting and match outcome options for some of the big US sports. So for us, and that's like, I was in the industry long enough, but what I don't want to see is Transient, and it won't, and it's not, become a bookmaker. This is a place that you're able to work with your community, build your own pools, have some fun predicting the outcome, and best of all, you get to share in some TSCT, which is our native token across the platform. So lots of integration in terms of video. Check out our, jump onto transientnetwork.io, hopefully within the description below. Check out the videos that we have around the usability, and definitely jump on cryptopool.tnetwork.app because there's going to be some really great interactions from the community on there, and has already been a real success story. So get in there, but yeah, pumped for esports and then sports very quickly after. That should see us over the next few months at least.
It'll keep you busy. All the links that you talked about are down below. Join communities. This is my advice for it. If you're interested in a project, join communities. That's where you meet people, get those interests together. And whether you're, sounds like a videographer, designer, somebody who wants to build the dApp, an influencer, those sorts of folks, could be a really great place to learn more about Transient and what they're building across the world. Right now, it's like a global no-code platform. It's fantastic. Beau, thank you for coming on and talking to me. Thank you for sticking with me through my technical difficulties. And we made it. I appreciate you, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Cheers. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
All right, everyone. This is Andy from Chainlink Labs. Thank you for sticking with us and me in my weird background as I'm live. Don't forget to like and subscribe. So go join those communities. Follow Transient on Twitter. Like and subscribe to this feed. We do videos like these a couple every week. There's one tomorrow. I believe it's Moby. Tomorrow around the same time, maybe a little earlier in the morning. I'm not sure, but they're a mobile payments platform that's integrated with crypto. It's really cool. I got to interview them. And then coming up next week, we've got even more. There's going to be more coming out in the future, usually 2 a week, trying to get NFT projects no-code platforms, DeFi, the whole work. So please, you can also follow Chainlink on Twitter to get all those official announcements. Follow @smart_contract for announcements about events like these and other ones. We do all sorts of other developer-related content and stuff like that too. So that's it for me. Thank you all for coming on. Thanks again to Beau for joining me and hanging out. And I hope you enjoyed this fun little different background. All right, we'll talk to you guys later. Peace.